This is the story of Vault 114. Vault 114 plays an important role in the primary story of Fallout 4, so it's likely that everyone watching this video has been there. However, we find a lot of lore about Vault-Tec's 114 in the terminals scattered around the vault. We often run by these terminals when trying to rescue Nick Valentine, so I thought it would be fun to revisit this vault to figure out exactly what Vault-Tec was trying to do with Vault 114. While we're at it, we might as well rescue Nick Valentine. To find the vault, we go to Boston Commons. This is where we find Swan's Pond. The entrance to Vault 114 is found within the Park Street metro station. After entering the station, as we go down the escalator, we overhear some Triggerman thugs talking.
I'm telling you, joining Skinny Malone's crew was the best decision we've ever made. Look at this place.
I still say Malone's weak. We caught that detective snooping around, and what does he do? Locks him up. Like he ain't got the balls to just kill him.
Well, don't let his new girl hear that. She'll start swinging that bat of hers at your face until there ain't no face left.
So Malone is Skinny Malone. Skinny Malone is a Triggerman mob boss who has a long history with our favorite detective, Nick Valentine. The new girl these Triggermen refer to is Darla, Skinny Malone's new squeeze. The reason Nick is out here to begin with is because he was hired by Darla's parents to find their missing daughter. Everyone assumed that she had been kidnapped by Skinny Malone and his Triggerman goons. Now, Skinny Malone has taken up in the ruins of Vault 114. We typically see Triggermen in Good Neighbor, so we're not exactly clear just yet why they're here in Vault 114, though I believe we find the answer later on. I'm playing my Railroad Assassin character, so I'm gonna try and do this as stealthily as possible. We'll see how sneaky I can be. The first clue we get that tells the story of Vault 114 is found in the terminal we find behind the ticket counter here in the metro station. On this terminal are 3 notes. The first is the purchase ticket terminal, and it says that this function has been terminated. Terminal vending functions have been shut down. Well, I wonder why. We find out why in the next entry. Notice, terminal shutdown. They shut down the purchase of tickets from this tunnel on February 11th, 2077, because the station was closing. They don't give a reason, they don't say why the station is closing, but they do refer you to Vault-Tec if you have any questions. This is a public metro station. I'm sure taxpayer dollars paid for this. It's right in the middle of the Boston Commons, probably one of the most heavily trafficked parts of downtown Boston. How could they close down such an important terminal? The final notice is very disturbing. It's a notice to employees and it looks like a template. It says, "Dear, insert employee ID here." They're shutting down the Park Street station because the Vault-Tec Corporation purchased it. They say that they're going to be going through their records and redistributing their many valued employees to other stations and departments around the Commonwealth. However, at the very end it says you have been relocated to employee terminated. I believe that we're supposed to take from this that all of the Park Street station employees lost their jobs. They weren't relocated like they had been promised, they were simply terminated. So Vault-Tec purchased a public metro station. For what purpose? Well, obviously they're Vault-Tec, likely they were gonna build a vault here. But there are plenty of places in the Commonwealth to build vaults. Why did they have to build one right under downtown Boston? Why did they need to do so here in Park Street Station, removing one more metro station, making congestion even worse? After looting the safes and other containers up here by the turnstiles, we can go down the escalator, disarm a bathroom scale and a makeshift bomb to find the train station platforms. Here we have a handful of Triggermen wandering around. I managed to use a combination of VATS and Blitz to take out the guy nearest to me, but my efforts to sneak on by to take out a few more were thwarted. I got one hiding behind a box, managed to get one more before they all started to open fire. Then I had to abandon stealth and relied upon chems to get through. Practice, ladies and gents, I just need practice. I'll get better, trust me. Facing west, we can unlock a novice lock door. Here we find a tripwire on the ground that we can disarm, and a safe. After clearing the tracks, we can go down the tracks to find more triggermen patrolling the platform. The tracks then go downhill, and one of them stops. It's clogged up with a bunch of rubble. In this rubble, we find a skeleton in a wheelchair holding a Nuka-Cola Quantum. At last, we see the construction site and the door to Vault 114. Thankfully, there were plenty of dark places to sneak around here. I snuck around a big earth-moving machine and kept to the shadows until I was able to target two of these guys in vats. The third guy saw me, but that was inevitable, and he was easy to take down. Interestingly, there's a hole in the wall here. Inspecting it, we find caskets filled with human bones dangling from the ceiling. Ugh, this is horrible. It says a lot about Vault-Tec. You know, I'm sure the government, when making these tunnels, had to go through all sorts of permits to make sure that they weren't going to be digging through old graveyards made by the founders of Boston, back when the city was first formed. But it looks like Vault-Tec just didn't care. They must not have had to go through the same permits. Here they are digging this vault right next to the tracks, and they managed to dig right into a graveyard. They stopped digging, but they just left these caskets with bones spilling out into the open. After exploring the nooks and crannies and looting the corpses, we can use our Pip-Boy to activate the door to Vault 114. It slides away, the ramp comes towards us, and we discover that we've confused one of the nearby Triggerman guards.
God damn it, I hate it when they open the door. Why is that thing so loud? Hello? That you, Skinny? Darla?
Shit. What's that come from?
This vault was clearly still under construction. There are a whole lot of Vault-Tec boxes and containers still sitting out here at the entrance, almost as if they had just been delivered. Heading through the eastern door, we find a terminal, which gives us a little bit more information. There are two entries here. The first says, "Welcome employees." After constructing the vault for many months, Vault-Tec invited the technical and scientific staff to go ahead and move into the vault. The place is still under construction though. They're not ready to invite the residents yet. And they did things differently this time. Instead of building it themselves, they contracted a construction company outside of Vault-Tec to build this one. And here we finally learn why they decided to build the vault in the former Park Street station. They say it's going to decrease building costs. The government, on the taxpayer dime, has already dug these tunnels for metro use, but now the government needs money, possibly for the war effort, and so they couldn't turn down a tidy sum of cash from Vault-Tec. Vault-Tec buys it so they don't have to excavate a brand new vault themselves, and then they contract the construction out to a completely new company. Does this tell us that just before the bombs dropped, that Vault-Tec was seeing financial problems? I honestly can't see how they weren't seeing financial problems. None of these Vault-Tec experiments were going to be profitable in any way. I often wonder where they get all of this money to build these elaborate vaults all over the United States to conduct their crazy experiments. Surely they must have been funded by the government or the military. If that were the case, then maybe this is an instance of the feds, through Vault-Tec, saving money by buying a metro station funded by the people of the state of Massachusetts. Maybe the government was trying to save money at the expense of state sovereignty. Now here they don't tell us what the experiment will be, but Vault-Tec cautions their employees saying, because we're contracting out of Vault-Tec, you're going to see a lot of civilian traffic until the vault is completed. Make sure to maintain the security of Vault 114 and its experiments from prying eyes. As they say, loose lips sink ships. They also result in immediate termination and possible criminal investigation. Welcome once again. The next one is private, and it's for the science staff only. And it's here where we learn the experiment that Vault-Tec hoped to conduct here at Vault 114. Strangely enough, they warn employees at the beginning saying this memo is just for members of the science division. If you're not in the science division, or if you don't have the right clearance, please stop reading this terminal and then report your infraction to the overseer so that you can be properly punished. Thank you. Yeah, like that's gonna happen. The scientific staff stationed here at Vault 114 was specifically the social science division of the Vault-Tec scientific staff. With this vault, they were going to be conducting a social experiment. We know that Vault-Tec is fond of conducting social experiments, as we learned with my recent video on Vault 11. With Vault 114, they were turning it into a home only for the rich and famous, high-ranking members of local and state government, local luminaries, business people, and their families. All of the people staying here were told that they were only going to be cohabitating with people who were of Boston's upper class like them. These Vault-Tec rooms were sold as luxuries, with plenty of elbow room and all of the modern amenities. However, the reality is exactly the opposite. Vault-Tec says, "Our descriptions of luxury have been highly exaggerated. Instead, many of the families chosen randomly will be living and sleeping in single-room apartments. They will dine and bathe in shared quarters, and their amenities will be minimal." They also haven't chosen an overseer yet. They are interviewing people for the post. But strangely enough, their perfect overseer, the one they want to hire, is going to be somebody with no supervisory or government experience, and someone who has a strong anti-authority bias. With an overseer who has no administrative experience and who naturally rebels against authority, maybe they're purposefully hiring an overseer who would be biased against all of these rich residents from the get-go. So these rich and powerful people would go into this vault to have all of their authority and all of the luxury they're accustomed to stripped from them and find themselves beholden to a hostile overseer. Vault-Tec concludes by saying, "By taking away the luxury and authority these groups of people saw during their life on the surface, we hope to study their reactions during stressful situations." And at the very end, we learned that they expect this inexperienced overseer to make really horrible decisions. They advise the social science staff by saying, "Do not undermine the new overseer's authority at all during the experiment, even and especially if it may cause physical discomfort, embarrassment, or even harm to the residents." At first, this kind of sounds like Vault 118 from Far Harbor. If you're interested in that story, I did a video on it already, which you can watch here. That vault was a little bit different. In that vault, Vault-Tec was going to be giving a home to Hollywood actors and very wealthy rich people, and also the dregs of society. The rich people would be living in luxury, the poor people would be living in squalor and in cramped places, but they would be living side by side in the same vault. They wanted to see what would happen when two completely different societies had to rub elbows. The difference is that in Vault 114, they only had one social group, really rich people, but at chance, they were going to turn some of those really rich people into the dregs of society by stripping away their space and the luxury that they were accustomed to. Some of the rich and powerful people in this vault would maintain their status, while some of them would be stripped of their status, and they wanted to see what would happen in that situation. So it's a similar but slightly different experiment. With 118, it was class warfare, the rich against the poor. With 114, it was to see what would happen if the upper classes were forced to become the lower classes. I have to admit, these are very interesting experiments. I would love to find what happened after these experiments, but sadly neither of them took place. 118 was a failure because Vault-Tec completely ran out of money, and 114, as we see, never happened. The bombs dropped before they could finish the vault. Continuing along, we overhear another conversation by some Triggerman thugs.
So I got a question. Why the hell would anyone build a vault out of a subway station? This place is like the opposite of airtight.
Because they weren't planning to use it, you moron. We used to pull this kind of con all the time back before the war. Get a bunch of union boys to work some construction job that would go nowhere. Keep everyone on payroll.
So these Triggermen, one of whom is a ghoul and is over 200 years old, thinks that the entire thing was a con, that it was just a bunch of unionized workers who were being given work so that they could continue to cash a paycheck. But I think we've already learned that the real reason Vault-Tec chose to use the metro station was to save money. As for it being airtight, it seems like a strange thing to say. I'm not sure why building a vault in a metro station would make it any less airtight. I mean, you could build a vault above ground, and as long as all of the vault pieces have been joined correctly, it would be airtight, wouldn't it? After they are dead, we can continue forward to find a catwalk through another construction room leading down to the vault. This is another tricky section. We've got triggermen wandering the catwalks, and plenty of light shining on these catwalks, ruining our sneaking. I managed to sneak down and kill one, but that alerted the others, so I jumped on down and tried to hide. But I didn't last long before they found me and started to shoot at me. I ran to the other side trying to hide, but again they found me, and so I hid between two generators until they came around the corner, whereupon I could pull out my melee weapon and take them down. Did that guy just pull out a missile launcher? Holy cow, my head is crippled. What is a triggerman doing with a missile launcher? Oh, what a quagmire. So much for stealth. Gosh, I am horrible at this. Looks like this guy had a legendary weapon, a mighty missile launcher, of course. Because that's realistic, a triggerman with a missile launcher in an underground vault. Once cleared, we can head through the doors to re-enter the vault. We find an open safe with a bunch of money. At first I thought these may have been the personal possessions of the important people who were to live here, but then I remembered that they hadn't actually arrived yet, only the science staff was here. So this must be some loot that Skinny Malone's triggerman had stolen. Maybe they were processing it. Dropping down the hatch, we can actually hop on down to another level here and peer around before we go all the way down. I got lucky, the triggerman patrolling this area had just stepped outside the door. I was able to easily take him out with Blitz. The terminal here has the exact same entries on it. Bethesda placed a number of terminals along this path with many of the same entries. They really wanted us to get the story. And then at last we can go down a hallway and through a door to enter the atrium of the vault. Here we pass through another hallway before entering the atrium and overhearing a conversation between Nick Valentine and one of Skinny Malone's thugs, Dino.
How you doing in there, Valentine? Feeling hungry? Want a snack?
Keep talking, meathead. It'll give Skinny Malone more time to think about how he's gonna bump you off.
Don't give me that crap, Valentine. You know nothing, you got nothing.
Really? I saw him writing your name down in that black book of his. Lousy, cheating card shark, I think were his exact words. Then he struck the name across 3 times.
3 strikes? In the black book? But I never... Oh no. I gotta smooth this over, fast.
If you're quick, you can hide behind the stairs before he runs down them, and he won't detect you. Otherwise, he is fairly tricky. He has a lot of HP. On his corpse, we find the Overseer's password. But Nick can wait a little bit. He's not going anywhere. We can take the opportunity to explore this level of the atrium. Against the western wall is a locked door. Inside, we don't find any terminals, but we do find a lot of scrap and chems. And that's about it. We do see a lower section to this atrium, but no stairway that brings us down. We'll explore it later with Nick Valentine. So, now back to the task at hand. We can go up the stairs and through the door to talk with Nikki.
Hey, you! I don't know who you are, but we got 3 minutes before they realize muscles for brains ain't coming back. Get this door open!
All right, Nick, will do. We can use the terminal here to input the password we found on Dino's corpse. Strangely enough, there's an option here. It says take number. If you take a number, it goes up to 998. I guess there was a long wait to talk with the Overseer, but I was under the impression that the residents never got to the vault, so I'm not sure why the numbers would be all the way up to 998. You take another number, it goes to 999. When you try to get to 1000, it says the queue to see the Overseer is full for the year. Have a nice day. Anyway, we can activate the door to walk in and talk with Nick Valentine.
Gotta love the irony of the reverse damsel in distress scenario. Question is, why did our heroine risk life and limb for an old private eye?
What are you?
Told you, I'm a detective. Look, I know the skin and the metal parts ain't comforting, but it's not important right now. The only thing that matters is why you went to all this trouble to cut me loose.
I need you to find someone, but it's complicated. I don't exactly know where they could be or how long they've been gone.
Well, I've done jobs with less. Somehow nice and simple never makes it onto the menu in my world.
I'm tracking a murderer. The bastard who shot my husband. Took my baby. I don't even have a clue who he is or where he's gone.
So, you need a little angel of vengeance, huh? Well, I don't usually go after blood money, but I guess I can make an exception.
My baby's missing. His name's Sean. He was kidnapped, but I don't know who took him or where they went.
Missing kid, huh? Well, you came to the right man, if not the right place. I've been cooped up in here for weeks. Turns out the runaway daughter I came here to find wasn't kidnapped. She's Skinny Malone's new flame. And she's got a mean streak. Anyway, you got troubles, and I'm glad to help. But now ain't the time. Let's blow this joint. Then we'll talk. Malone's crew here used to be small time. Muscled out of the old neighborhood by bigger players. Until they found this place. Don't know what happened to the previous owners, but they're not exactly around to charge rent. An empty vault. Perfect hideout.
Yes, I know I missed the bobblehead. I wanted to hear what he was going to say, but he's going to wait for us here so we can run back up the stairs, go back into the Overseer's room to loot the speech bobblehead. Let your words be your weapon. All vendors permanently have 100 more caps for bartering. Now that is handy. On the desk here, we find 3 holotapes. These are recordings of Vault-Tec's interviews for Overseer. Let's listen to interview number 3.
This is Vault-Tec interview number 03 for the position of Overseer for Vault 114. Interview subject, Benjamin Beasley. Mr. Beasley, as Overseer of Vault 114, how would you settle a disagreement between 2 of your Vault residents?
Well, I would obviously take it through the proper channels, assuming neither of their requests were against the law, of course. This is, of course, assuming that the conflict had already gone through all the other members of the Vault's Residence Council that I plan on organizing.
Vault Residence Council, you say?
Yes, of course. People need government. They yearn for it. I think it's a civic duty of every red-blooded American patriot to serve the...
Yes, I think we have everything we need here. Thank you for your time.
Oh, already? Well, I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yes, I'm sure you will. Please make sure to fill out your non-disclosure agreement on your way out.
Alright, so that was a man who was a red-blooded patriot who loved civil government. He wanted the Vault residents to each have their own voice on a Vault council. Sounds like they weren't interested in such a man. Let's listen to the next holotape, interview number 21.
This is Vault-Tec interview number 21 for the position of Overseer for Vault 114. Interview subject, Kimberly Weiss. Hello, Mrs. Weiss.
How do you do? And may I just say what an honor it is to even be considered for the position of Overseer. Ever since I was a little girl in mock government, I dreamed that one day I would have the opportunity to lead a community to greatness. My teachers all told me I had leadership potential, and without my guidance as student council vice president, those bake sales surely would have failed. Just the thought of being able to organize and run this small group, to show them a better way, to lead them to a future so bright that they...
My goodness. Looks like we're out of time.
What? We just started.
Yes. Thank you. If you could just send the next candidate in as you leave.
Oh, of course. Did I mention I was head of my debate team?
I'm sure you did. Thank you.
That was a painful one. Oh, she sounded like one of those typical overachievers with no real-world experience. Student council, bake sales. Interviewing people for this position must have been a nightmare for these poor guys. There is one final holotape. This must have been a tough day for these Vault-Tec interviewers, because this is interview number 87.
This is Vault-Tec interview number 87. Position of Overseer for Vault 114. The candidate has refused to give his real name and has only provided the name the Soup Can Harry.
That's right. I ain't telling you nothing. My name is the name I call myself, not the rank and number the government branch on me. No, sir.
Fascinating. Mr. Soup Can, would you mind telling me why you're distrustful of the government?
I've seen what they do. Gum up the works with red tape and bureaucracy, take every hard-earned cent and use it to fund their Illuminati, Freemason sex parties. I'm a free man. I should be able to live as I see fit. My taxes pay for them streets and alleys and dumpsters. I'll sleep where I want.
Sir, according to this, you haven't paid taxes in many years.
I seen the back of them Abraxo boxes. Not for consumption. Don't you tell me what to do. I'll eat what I want.
Sir, you may just be the perfect candidate. How would you like to be the new overseer for Vault 114?
I ain't wearing no goddamn tie. Or pants.
Illuminati Freemason sex parties. Oh, good old soup can. Reminds me kind of No Bark from New Vegas. Wow, but wait, this is horrible. Can you imagine? This is the overseer. This is the guy they hired to be overseer of this vault. You're going to have this place filled with a bunch of politicians, people who work in the local government, high-ranking officials, business owners, wealthy people with a lot of power, and Soup Can Harry is going to be the guy who's in charge of all of them? The guy who wields an authoritative power over all of these people? They wrote Soup Can's lines really well. Sounds like one of those guys who's gonna show up to a court case and say, "I am the living man protected by natural law." Well, I think I can say that it was a very good thing that no living human being ever had to live under the tyrannical and insane leadership of Soup Can. But back to the task at hand. While we're here, let's see if we can help Nick Valentine escape. Going through a door and heading down the stairs, we can go to the bottom level of the atrium. As we get close, Nick asks you how you want to play this.
Hold up, I hear some of them coming. There they are. How do you want to play this?
Why does that take so fucking long, huh? Hey, Dino, quit razzing that detective and get down here. Where the heck is he?
Well, Nikki, I want to play this quietly. Let's see if I can actually stealthily kill these guys for once on my assassin stealth character.
And Mama thought I was gonna be a doctor. Only surgery I do ain't the kind you walk away from.
One of the triggermen walks away from the other two, and this bottom floor is dimly lit, so I was able to use Blitz and VATS to knock this guy out with just a couple of hits. Neither of the other two saw me, so I quickly ran back through the door. Nick followed me and waited until I was hidden. One of them then started to come my way, but the other was turned the other way. I managed to use Blitz and VATS to knock this guy's block off. Then back to the other room to hide and peer through the windows. Finally, the third guy came around the corner, and I was to snag him before he saw me. And there we go, that's how you do it. Killing all three without being detected once. I have to say, I walked away from this feeling fairly proud of myself. We can then go through the door on this level to continue onward.
Hard and loud, huh? Well, gets the job done. Too bad for whoever cleans up the floors.
Hard and loud? Nick, what are you talking about? I just assassinated these guys with my Pickman's blade. That wasn't loud? There's no pleasing this guy. I just can't do anything right. Interestingly, we unlock a door here to the depot, where we find some undamaged Abraxo cleaner. Remember in the holotape we just listened to, Soup Can says that he loves to eat Abraxo cleaner, which may help explain his mental capacity. We find a bunch of this Abraxo cleaner all over the place. If you ever want Abraxo cleaner, Vault 114 is the place to go. Maybe Soup Can is responsible for bringing so much cleaner to the vault. We find a body stuffed in one of the lockers. There's a silver pocket watch near him, again leading me to think that this might be one of those powerful rich people, but again, they never made it here. The vault wasn't ready yet. He's not a scientist. He's not in a scientist lab coat. So who is this guy? I guess we can assume he's just a Vault-Tec employee who must have upset someone, causing him to get stuffed in a locker. After exploring the lockers and halls, Nick hacks into an override switch to open the door.
This door's on the fritz. Let me see if I can get it open. Almost got it. There we are. Hell of a lot easier to do when the lock isn't on the other side.
We can then go upstairs. This leads to residential laundry, cafeteria, nursery, and the exit.
What? You're dead!
Welcome to your last stand.
And after everything Nick said, the hard time he gives me about going in loud, he's the one that attracts the unwanted attention, ruining my stealth. Nick, you're a hypocrite. Shut up. On one of the Vault-Tec boxes near some candles, we find an astoundingly awesome tales. The Man Who Could Stop Time. Gain +5 to action points. Wait, look at that cover art again. Is this guy stopping time to look under a girl's dress? Is that what we're supposed to get from this? I have to admit, if I had the power to stop time, I would never do a thing like that. That is horrible. Those pre-war comic book makers were scandalous. Heading around the corner, if we're very sneaky and stealthy, we can come upon some of the Triggermen sleeping in the Vault-Tec bunks. And this was just a missed opportunity. I've got Mr. Sandman on one of my other characters, but not on this one. She's not a high enough level yet. And there are so few instances where you can use Mr. Sandman in the game, and this is one of them, but I sadly didn't have it, so I just had to kill this guy the old-fashioned way. Meanwhile, Nick attracted some unwanted attention in the other room, completely ruining my stealth, but we can blitz on in to finish the job.
Oh, I'll find you. Every second
More
you hide.
stairs?
Scratch one off the list.
Who built this damn vault? A fitness instructor?
Strange that Nick would be the one complaining about walking stairs. It's not like he gets tired. Well, wait, can he get tired? He's a prototype synth. He's not a Gen 3. It's not like he's got aches and pains like humans would. I like how human they made this guy. Heading up the stairs, we find a few more Triggermen wandering the halls. Nick acted like a decoy, allowing me to sneak on in and get off a few criticals on this legendary Triggerman, but he was not easy. Thankfully, Nerd Rage saved me here. On this level, we can unlock an advanced lock to find a huge cache. 3 safes with pre-war money, pocket watches, gold-plated lighters, stashes of caps and pre-war money, and even valuable paintings. Yes, this has to be a Triggerman stash, not a pre-war stash, because we do find caps here, and also Triggerman costumes, like tuxedos and all of that.
Skinny Malone and the rest of his boys are waiting for us somewhere. The name's, ironic, but don't let that fool you. He's dangerous.
Heading up the stairs, Valentine unlocks a door.
Another locked door. Shouldn't be too hard.
Which leads us to Skinny Malone.
Okay, I got it. But I hear big fat footsteps on the other side. Once we step through this door, get ready for anything.
And it's here where we find a final terminal. This terminal tells us the names of the people who were registered for admittance into Vault 114. And you know, I really can't dig any interesting tidbits out of this. It just seems like a bunch of names. We do learn that Vault-Tec didn't allow dogs. One of the families, the Baker family, was really small, just a man, Ralph Baker, with his fiancée, Sarah. Together they had a dog named Spike, and the note says, "Do not allow." What, did Vault-Tec euthanize dogs as they came into the vault? Oh, that was gonna be a surprise for poor old Ralph. These are mostly families, many of which had children. We find 3 different infants on this registry. Only one of them was a confirmed bachelor. Now we know that we're gonna be talking with Skinny Malone on the other side of this door, Nick tells us, which means we're probably gonna have some speech checks to pass, so I'm gonna go ahead and take some Day Tripper and Grape Mentats to make sure I can pass them. Heading through the door, we are confronted at gunpoint by Skinny Malone and his thugs.
What are you doing? You come into my house, shoot up my guys? You have any idea how much this is gonna set me back?
I wouldn't be here if it weren't for your 2-timing dame, Skinny. You ought to tell her to write home more often.
Oh, poor little Valentine. Ashamed you got beat up by a girl? I'll just run back home to Daddy, shall I?
Should've left it alone, Nikki. This ain't the old neighborhood. In this vault, I'm king of the castle, you hear me? And I ain't letting some private dick shut us down now that I finally got a good thing going.
I told you we should have just killed him! But then you had to get all sentimental. All that stupid crap about the old times.
Darla, I'm handling this. Skinny Malone's always got things under control.
Oh yeah? Then what's this lady doing here, huh? Valentine must have brought her here to rub us all out.
That wasn't the plan originally, but hey, tempting.
What's the deal with you people and Nick anyway?
Darla's a runaway. Her father wanted me to bring her back home. Turns out she skipped town to be with my old pal Skinny Malone, mob boss. Never thought he'd manage to scrape together a big enough crew to take over a vault. Guess life's full of surprises.
Darla, listen to me. You have a home to go back to. You don't want to throw your life away with these thugs?
You're right! What am I doing? I've gotten all mixed up.
Darla, where are you going?
Home, Skinny, where I should have been all this time. This is goodbye for us.
Oh, come on, Nikki. You cost me my men, now you and your friend cost me my girl?
My friend here just did you a favor, Skinny. You always did have bad taste in women. Now that she's not around to feed that temper of yours, maybe you'll see sense and let us walk. You still owe me for 2 weeks in the hole.
You smug, overconfident ass. Get out of here! All right, you get to the count of 10. I still see your face after that. I'm gunning both of you down.
We better get out of here, fast.
1.
Now, Skinny gives us 10 seconds to get out of here. If we get out in time, he doesn't attack. But if we wait for the countdown to finish, he gets progressively more irritated until finally...
6, 7, 8, 9, 10!
He and his Triggerman attack! Now, alternatively, we can try to convince Darla to turn on Skinny and attack him.
Skinny's no good for you, Darla. You put a bullet in him, I just might let you go.
Wow, you're a bad girl, ain't ya? Sorry, babe, but this is the end for us. And for you.
You double-crossing Maul. Teach me to fall for a great set of legs.
In which case a violent melee ensues. It's really easy for Darla to be killed in this fight, but if somehow you're able to kill Skinny and his thugs, and Darla survives, she runs off.
Screw Skinny Malone. Who needs that big galoot anyway? My parents were right. I should never have gotten mixed up with people from Good Neighbor. What a mess I got myself into.
Hey!
Some man Skinny Malone turned out to be. I'm going home to my parents! Screw those low-life gangsters!
Now, if you don't respond to Darla the first time she talks with you, you lose the opportunity to pass a speech check to turn Darla against Skinny, because Skinny gets jealous of the attention you're giving her, and he takes over the conversation.
Hey, who's running this show here? You got something to say? Say it to me!
You and Nick know each other?
Yeah. This troublemaker here used to be a real headache back in the day. Before we got kicked out of the old neighborhood. Must have done this dance 100 times. Enemies are kind of the closest thing you get to friends in these parts. Now quit stalling. You gonna talk? Talk.
Now, of course, we always have the rude option. We can say that he's fat and ugly.
You're fat, you're ugly, and it's time you and your crazy bitch said goodbye.
Of course, they just immediately attack. But this is tricky. You gotta fight all of them. His 2 goons, himself, and Darla. If you manage to kill them all, Nick will have something to say, both at the death of Skinny and the death of Darla.
Skinny Malone. Think he's lighter or heavier with all those holes in him? Well, the bullets probably add a few ounces. Good night, sweet prince. Here's to all the old days. It's going to be an awkward conversation with Darla's parents when I tell them their daughter bit the big one. Well, at least the case is closed. Let's get out of here. There's a service ladder that should take us right to the surface.
Alternatively, we can convince him that Darla is playing him for a chump.
Look at yourself. Darla is playing you for a sap. You're better than this. You're better than her.
You're right. Things have gone nothing but south since she walked into my life.
What are you talking about, Skinny?
I'm saying you're dragging me and this whole operation down a bad road, Toots. We're through.
Well, fine then. I'm going back home. I don't need you, you fat ass!
They always gotta hit you where it hurts. Now what am I gonna do about you two? I know! I'm gonna give you until the count of 10.
In which case, Darla walks off safe, and Skinny gives you 10 seconds to leave. Or we can appeal to his good nature and the history that he has with Nick Valentine to say that this was all just a misunderstanding.
This is all just a misunderstanding, Skinny. You know that. You let us walk and we won't come back.
You and Nick shot all of my crew, and you expect to just... All right. You're lucky I still owe him for that time back in the quarry. I'm gonna give you two until the count of 10 before I forget my good manners and start shooting up the place.
What are you doing, Skinny? Kill him!
No, Darla. They get one chance to leave. Skinny Malone's putting his foot down.
My mother was right. You mobsters are all just talk.
We better get out of here, fast.
In which case, Darla gets disgusted by what she perceives as his cowardice, and she leaves him. And Skinny Malone gives you 10 seconds to leave. Following Nick, he takes you back out of the vault into the metro station and up a ladder to the back bay.
Look at that Commonwealth sky. Never thought anything so naturally ominous could end up looking so inviting. Thanks for getting me out. How did you know where to find me, anyway? Not many people knew where I went.
I have my ways.
Really? Huh. Well, I'm glad those ways included shooting down mobsters. Wasn't looking forward to haunting that place.
That's not important.
All right, doll. Keep your secrets.
Your secretary, Ellie, she sent me.
She did? I should give her a raise.
Just... what are you, Nick?
You really don't know? I'm a synth. Synthetic man. All the parts, minus a few red blood cells. I got built, I got old, I got tossed. Then I opened up that little agency in Diamond City, and turns out people have plenty of problems to solve. Now, you mentioned something about your son, Sean, and how he went missing. I want you to come to my office in Diamond City. Give me all the details. Besides, I think you've earned a chance to sit down and clear your head.
You said Diamond City, right?
Yeah, you know the way? Southwest a few blocks. My office is in the back alleys, with the neon heart sign out front.
Then you can tell him to lead the way, in which case you follow him all the way to Diamond City.
Lead the way, Nick.
All right, let's move fast. Follow me.
Or you can say that you'll meet him later, in which case you find him whenever you're ready.
I don't have time to sit and chit-chat.
Look, I know you want your case solved as quickly as possible, but an investigation needs time. We can't risk overlooking the details. Meet me at Diamond City. Trust me, things will be easier once I know everything that happened.
And that is the full history of Vault 114, and it's our first exposure to everyone's favorite synth detective, Nick Valentine. We get a lot of really interesting stuff from this encounter. First, of course, we're introduced to the story of Vault 114, not one of the most tragic or insidious stories about Vault-Tec that we've heard, mainly because this vault was never launched. No one ever stayed here. The only people who ever made it here were some Vault-Tec scientists. The furthest they got was trying to interview an overseer. But had they been successful, it would have been a nightmare. A place where rich and powerful elite people, but still people, were stripped of their dignity and forced to be ruled by a madman. A place where the Vault-Tec employees were forbidden from interfering even if the overseer became violent. All in the name of progress. All in the name of science. If you keep Skinny Malone alive at the end, and you do not kill him, you can find him wandering the Commonwealth in a random encounter. In that encounter, he blames you for all of his problems. We learn that his gang has abandoned him. I'll keep a lookout for that random encounter, and when I find it, I'll be sure to share it with you in a new video about random encounters. And it's here where we learn a little bit more about Nick Valentine. I find it fascinating that he has such a rich history with Skinny Malone. We learn by exploring many of the different dialogue options in that final encounter that Skinny Malone and his gang initially came from Goodneighbor. I think we can surmise that there was a lot of Triggerman crime going on in Goodneighbor before John Hancock took over. After he killed Vic, he started to push most of the insidious crime out of Goodneighbor. There are still a few Triggermen around, as we've seen in the alleyways, and sometimes Hancock will use Triggermen for his own ends, but anyone rivaling his authority, anyone who could be a threat to his power was likely pushed out, and I believe that includes Skinny Malone. So Skinny Malone and his triggermen found Vault 114, found that it was completely abandoned, and decided to move in. We don't see any Raider decorations, Raider corpses, super mutant blood bags, so there's no reason to think that this place was inhabited by anyone else before the triggermen showed up. We learn from this that Nick Valentine must have done a lot of detective work in the Good Neighbor area, which of course makes sense. When you go to the memory den and talk with Irma, she refers you to her good friend Nick. Nick and Irma have a past. Maybe he did something for her, maybe he did a case for her. And it may have been there at Good Neighbor that Nick first met Skinny Malone. Skinny Malone says that Nick did something at a quarry where he owes Nick something, but we don't really get any more information about that event. We don't learn from Nick at what time he was at a quarry, but I suppose we could assume that Skinny Malone had a problem with raiders at one of the nearby quarries, because all of the quarries, with the exception of thicket excavations, are occupied by raiders when you first encounter them. It's not until much later that thicket excavations is also inhabited by raiders. Maybe, and this is just speculation, but maybe after he was ousted from Good Neighbor, Skinny Malone first went to a quarry to try and set up camp there. Maybe he was attacked at that quarry by some raiders, and Nick did something during one of his cases to push away the raiders, or at least give Skinny Malone an opportunity to retreat. Maybe that's the event at a quarry that Skinny Malone was referring to when he said that he owed Nick. Ultimately, that is conjecture. We don't really know, but it certainly is thought-provoking, and it's nice to know that Nick Valentine has a richly written history here in the Commonwealth. We will try to explore more of that in a profile piece that I'm working on, all about our favorite synth detective. What are your thoughts on Vault 114? Did you uncover these terminals and holotapes when you explored the vault? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I read all of your comments, and I use your comments as inspiration for my future videos. I publish a new video 6 days a week, so if you want to make sure that you don't miss what I publish tomorrow, be sure to subscribe and click that bell notification button. And did you know that I have a t-shirt shop? That's right, ladies and gents, you can find a link to my Teespring t-shirt shop in the description below, where I sell a bunch of Fallout and Oxhorn themed t-shirts. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.